soften up the mess. Drop it in the water, let the daughter find her image with the rest. She'll be learning how to breathe, spinning through identity, revealing.
Hey y'all, and welcome back to the Bougie Faith channel. My name is Elisha. If you are new here, welcome. If you are a returning Faithie, thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. Hey girl, hey. So let's get into today's sit down video. I wanted to kind of share some of the things that has helped me so far with the PMDD symptoms that I have. And so yeah, I hope that maybe some of these will help you, or maybe some of these you're already trying. But let's get into it. So if you haven't watched my video about my journey with PMDD as a Christian woman, I would suggest you watch that first so you kind of know what we're talking about. And if not, if you know what PMDD is and you're just here for some tips, that's completely fine too. So let's get into it. So PMDD is an acronym for premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And basically there's still a lot of research that is developing around it. I'm so grateful. But this usually affects, some women, not all women, and it usually happens between 14 days to 7 days before their cycle, where they experience kind of like PMS. Well, it is PMS, but more severe. I like to say it's just more severe and like your PMS on steroids. It's also, they have found that it's linked to trauma. And they have also found that it is your brain's reaction to the different fluctuations of the hormones throughout the various phases of the cycle as well. So that is the gist of it so far. And I am someone who has challenges with it. So let's share some of the things that I have found to be helpful. So let's start. These are not in any particular order, just some things that I have jotted down that I know that has helped me. And I place them on 2 cards so I can stay on target and not have this run too long. So the first one is self-care. Self-care is so important. It's so essential. I feel like it is imperative for everyone to have a self-care routine of some type. And not just a self-care routine, but just knowing that it is important to take care of you. Both men and women, and when we take care of ourselves, it flows to everything else that we are called to do, and it allows us to steward things a lot better. So some of the things that I do for self-care is lots of rest, finding time to just have with myself, doing activities that I enjoy, doing my hobbies, things like that, journaling. I also love to have warm baths. So different things that I do to just kind of take care of me. And I encourage each and every one of you to have those same things. The next one is acceptance. It is very important. If you watched my video about my journey with PMDD as a Christian woman, you know that it took me some time to accept what was going on, and acceptance and agreement is 2 different things. So while I'm not in agreement with PMDD, I have accepted that this is something that I am journeying through, and I trust that the Lord will bring total and complete healing. The next one is knowing my triggers. So if you are someone who has challenges with PMDD, you know that during certain phases of our cycles, we are prone to be a lot more sensitive, to be a lot more irritable and moody, and just things, trigger us. And so it's so important to know those buttons and be able to give yourself a pause, be able to give yourself a break. I know through luteal phase, which we'll talk a lot about, because luteal needs its own video, probably several, because that's where it all goes down. And that is usually the phase right before administration, and that's where, anyone that has PMDD, that's where they are suffering. And so knowing your triggers, especially around that time, will definitely alleviate you just, allowing your triggers to rule you, or allowing your triggers to trigger, basically, too. And I know because I've been there, so we'll talk about that too. The next one is therapy. Therapy helped me so much, just having a place to process, and my therapist was very supportive in this area. And I love that, she has the approach of, holistic care first. And so, when I was trying to get help and figure things out, she was very supportive of me just not jumping to medication, which was awesome. The next thing was, or is, good company. Your company matters when you are dealing with PMDD. For so many reasons, you do want people to have empathy and sympathy for you. You also want them to care, and even if they don't understand exactly what you're going through, but just not adding to it. Yes, so good company is so important. It's so important. I have friends like that are in my close circle that are aware of what I go through on a monthly basis. And actually some of them have some issues too. And so it's nice to like be able to come to them and say, hey girl, it's cycle week, or hey girl, I just got out of luteal, or hey girl, it's not a good time, or whatever it is. But it's grateful to be able to have that space, and they understand and they get it, and they're not like pressuring me or on me because I'm not on. And all I have to say is cycle, and they know. So I love that. And I also want you to know that your relationships do play a part in your cycle. It plays a part in, the severity of your symptoms with PMDD, because if you are constantly stressed out, if you're constantly going through chaos and negativity and dysfunction, it will affect you. And I can say that for the simple fact that I was there, and not necessarily with friends, but just some connections I had in my life did add to my cycle. And so I had to learn how to place boundaries, and I had to learn to distance myself. And some I had to learn to just let go for my well-being. So that is very important. The next one is self-preservation. So shout out to Auntie Nicole. She helped me with this one. You know who Auntie Nicole is if you watched the previous video, but she was a woman that helped me. She deals with PMDD, and so when I just had my breaking point, I'll say, I reached out to her and I was able to confide in her, and she really helped me with a lot. She really helped me with the acceptance part. And also shout out to my girl LaPortia, because she was also the one that God allowed to be used to tell me that this is well, he used her for confirmation to let me know that this is something that I should be more public about and vocal about. And so so shout out to her too. So yeah, Auntie put me onto self-preservation, and that means, you need to know what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing, what you should be in, what you shouldn't be in, because we are not called to be on everything and every scene and doing everything, right? We have to know that it's okay to put some things down, and it's okay to know that it's important for us to put some things down so we can have the space and the space and the capacity to take care of ourselves, but also so we are able to be able to not get into burnout and avoid burnout. So self-preservation is key. And I'm one of those people that I want to see people do well. I want to help as much as I can, but I've also had to learn that some things people got to fight on their own. You can only do so much, right? Like, we are called to bear our own crosses, and I'm preaching right now. We're going into the faith. And, we can encourage and we can inspire and we can help, but we also have to know that when it's time for them to pick up their cross and walk and bear it. So that's that. The next one is limiting screen time and social media. This is very important for me personally during luteal, and I have seen where this is also important for some other women as well. I've learned and realized that during my luteal phase, social media is very overstimulating. It's a lot going on. And so I like to use that time to be on Pinterest. I like to use that time to pin, but also just look at other things that's on Pinterest because it's quiet. And I also like to use that time to not post if I am not, up for posting. I don't pressure myself to post. Sometimes I have posts that are already like pre-scheduled, or I already know that I'm going to post certain things. So I will do that. That's a good time for me to schedule my posts so I'm not on there. And I honestly use social media for purpose and business purposes. So, it's not a big deal for me not to be on there. And I've also just learned that, when it's time for me to take my rest, it's time for me to take my rest. And so, yeah, that's that. I also like TikTok, for humor and for laughing. And so I'm still trying to learn how to navigate TikTok, y'all. I am a millennial, but if I get on that Gen Z energy that y'all have for TikTok, I'm gonna be gone, okay? But I'm still learning it. But anyways, I also like to just reserve that time for me to just have like leisure on social media and not really be like on business things. And so I will go on TikTok for a good laugh. The other one is saying no. So that kind of goes back to self-preservation. You have to know when to say no. You have to know how to honor your capacity. This is going to be very important so you're not overwhelming yourself. You're not overwhelming your body. And you're able to have the space to be if you need to be. Supplements. Now, supplements is a huge one. I'm not going to go into detail as to all of the supplements I took because I feel like that is a person by person situation. But they did help me a lot. Supplements was something that my functional medicine doctor recommended. And also my OBGYN recommended for me to take some supplements as well. He swears by fish oil, so omega-3s, and taking them on a consistent basis. And that is actually good because my functional medicine doctor said the same thing. So, that is something you may want to look into. Again, I am not a health provider. I am not a medical provider, which is another reason why I won't say like all of the things I took, but I do know supplements played a huge role in my, just helping me with my symptoms. And also, I will say that one thing she did recommend that was a supplement was a progesterone cream because my progesterone needed support. And then I also had a supplement for estrogen because my body was in an estrogen dominance space. And if you know anything about that, you do know that will affect your cycle symptoms. So those are two things I will share outside of the fish oil that was recommended for me. Another one is speaking up. You have to be willing to speak up about what you're going through, and not with everybody, but just, find somebody that is safe, that you can talk to, that you can confide in, that you're able to hit up when you're having more turbulent days or whatever the case may be. Like I shared before, when it goes back to good company, my inner circle and my good friends know that I have challenges with this, and so all I have to mention is cycle, and they already know where I'm gonna be at. So definitely be open with your loved ones. They may not get all of it, but definitely just be open, to those people that are closer to you. You have to have more interaction with. And just letting them know, like, hey, it's cycle week, or hey, I'm in my sensitive time of my cycle, so that they're aware and they know how to best support you, but also they know, like, if you're off a little bit, they know why. The next one is diet and nutrition. So we talked about how I had a nutritionist that worked with my functional medicine doctor. So I was able to figure out, the foods and the things that worked best for my body. I also figured out, how to eat for the different phases to better support me throughout, my cycle and all of that. So diet and nutrition and lifestyle is very huge when you are trying to help the symptoms of your PMDD and heal. Herbal tea is that girl. I have herbal tea at my office that I keep at my desk, and then I have herbal tea at home. I live by it. Raspberry leaf tea, dandelion tea, nettle tea, spearmint tea, peppermint tea, ginger tea, lemon balm tea. Listen, I live by the teas. So definitely check those out. And the good thing about herbal tea is you can drink it as much as you want and it doesn't really affect you. But I would definitely, just be mindful, if you have other things going on. Again, not a medical professional, but if you have other things going on, just kind of be mindful of what you're putting in your body. The next one is rest. Lots of rest, okay? What I found out for educational purposes, because again, I am still learning and developing in this area, is that when we are on our cycles as women, we need even more rest. And I know that because I can feel during that time where it's like I feel like I need extra hours of sleep. So definitely just planning for that and preparing yourself for that extra rest. All right, moving along. If it looks like my settings or my video changed a little bit, it probably did because my camera battery was dying and I had to switch it. And listen, being in these blogger YouTube and just social media streets, it definitely is some work, okay? But anyways, let's keep it going. So rest, making sure you're getting your rest, taking inventory of your body, listening to your body, giving your body what it needs. I think that is very, very important. One thing about our bodies is our bodies always tell. And so I think it's good to get to a place where you're paying attention to your body and you're listening to it and you're responding to it. And if it's saying, hey, rest, rest. And if it's saying, hey, yeah, you have some energy to do this. But make sure you are, taking inventory of where you stand and what your body needs. Cycle syncing. I feel like this is just such a power move for women. I have been truly blessed by learning the phases of my cycle and really planning my life around it to a certain extent. Especially with PMDD, it really, really helps. So that you're just aware of how you're feeling throughout each cycle and you are able to best support yourself. Like, for an example, I know that during luteal, which is, a week, 7 to 14 days before your cycle, I know that it may not be best for me to do any serious work like, having any event or speaking engagement if I can help it, because I know my body is more sensitive during that time. I know I need more rest during that time. I know that it's just not a good time for me to be more forward facing with anyone. Versus in my follicular stage, I know I have more energy. I'm a lot more creative, I feel like I'm on top of the world. The girls know. So during that time is when I'm probably going to want to produce my content. I'm probably going to want to have an event. I'm probably going to want to have social gatherings, those types of things. The next one is asking for help. Ask for help, girl. Ask them kids, ask your husband, ask your partner, ask your friends, ask your coworkers when you at work and it's PMDD. Ask them, ask for help. I think it's so good to be able to take a load off, especially when you are having challenges with PMDD and your symptoms are high or more uncomfortable. I think it's very important to be willing to ask for help. So ask for help and get the support that you need and get your kids involved. I have a daughter and, if I need help during that time, I ask her. So ask for help. The next one is scheduling, kind of going back to cycle seeking, like knowing, what to schedule around when, having, more schedules that are lighter in routine versus heavier in routine. I know for me, I don't like to do any heavy things during my luteal phase. So you won't really see me cleaning in my luteal phase. You won't see me doing too many heavy tasks outside of the house if I can help it, because I know that during that time I just don't have it. My energy is low. I'm tired, and I need the rest, and I just need to be still, and just pouring into me. The next one is prepping for your cycle. The prep for your cycle is so important. That is something that I adapted after I stopped being against my cycle and learning to work with it. It also goes into the concept of cycle syncing. So again, if you need to grocery shop, if you need to meal prep, finding or having easier or, more simple meals during luteal so that you're not in the kitchen for long periods of hours. Those things are all going to be important. Those are all things that I do. I have a laundry schedule, knowing when I'm going to do my laundry and, you know, just all of those things. That's going to help you a lot. Environment is key. We don't realize how so many of these things in our environment put so much stress on our bodies. And these things come out in the form of sicknesses and illnesses and things like that. And so I want us to be more cautious about who we are allowing in our lives and in our environments, especially when we are dealing with, you know, health issues, because it's either going to add to us or it's going to take away. And so, you know, even down to your friendships and even down to your family, like having boundaries is so important. But also when you can choose, you know, your environment and who has more access to your environment, keep in mind what you need and what you go through with PMDD. And you may want to, you know, not allow certain things to be super close to you during that time. You may want to limit, you know, phone calls. You may want to limit certain conversations, you know, things like that. Is going to be very important for you as well. And then the last one is seeing a functional medicine doctor. This helped me so much. This is where I started to piece everything together. And now that there's just more noise around it and women are speaking up, I believe that there are more OBGYNs that are trying to help, you know, women in this area. So definitely start with your OBGYN first, because I know functional medicine can come with a cost, especially if they do not take insurance. I was blessed to be able to pay out of pocket and I praise God for that. But my functional medicine doctor was not covered by my insurance, and most of them are not, depending on where you are. And so definitely start with your OBGYN and kind of do those things too first, because it will save you some money. But I personally feel that there's no cost you can put on health. And when your health is at stake, you know, sometimes we have to do what we have to do. And so that year when I had to pay out of pocket for functional medicine, there was no designer shopping, there was no luxury shopping, because my investment was in my health and I was fine with that. So I also know that some of them will take a health savings account. So if you have like a HSA, or you have a FSA, which is a flexible spending account through your employer. And like I said, everybody is different. I know my social media friend Portia, you know, God bless her. I know that her insurance covered hers, but she was up in Connecticut. So like I said, it varies, but just know that for some of them, they do not take insurance. And so just be mindful of that. But other than that, that's pretty much all I have for now. Of course, if anything else comes up or pops up as we continue to journey through this on my channel, I will bring it up. I also want to share, if you have found some things that has helped you and you want to share them in the comments, definitely do so. And like I said, if you are new to this or you're in it and you're trying to figure it out, some things may not work for you, some may work better for you, or you may already have your own system, and that is completely fine. You know, the goal is to just make sure that we are being best supported so that we can continue the other things that we enjoy in life and not have this rule our lives. So I'm excited to continue to just, you know, spread awareness about this, but also be able to bring some healing and be able to bring, you know, you being able to be seen and heard as you journey through this. So I thank you all again for rocking with me today. I hope that this video has blessed you in some shape or form. And until the next video, stay bougie. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.